The conference room fell silent as the tall, striking man at the head of the table stood up. Dressed in a crisp black suit, his expression was cold, unreadable. His name was Li Ziyan, the youngest and most powerful CEO in the city. Rumors said he could buy and sell entire companies before breakfast and still be on time for lunch. But today, his sharp eyes were fixed not on spreadsheets or contracts, but on the woman standing opposite him, trembling slightly as she held her ground. "I'm sorry," he said calmly, each word cutting like ice. "I don't do marriage." A gasp escaped from one of the assistants nearby. The woman before him, Chen Yue, looked like she'd just been slapped. She wasn't crying, but her eyes shimmered with disbelief. Everyone in the room knew there was more between them than just business. For the past year, the city had watched their silent war of emotions play out, sometimes in boardrooms, sometimes in headlines. He was the CEO who never smiled. She was the ordinary girl who somehow made him pause. And yet, here they were, at the edge of something real, and he had just stepped back. You don't do marriage?" she asked, voice barely steady. "Even if the person in front of you is someone who..." "I said what I said." He didn't wait for her to finish. With a wave of his hand, he ended the meeting and walked out, leaving her standing there like a forgotten chapter in a book he'd never read. Yue turned away, swallowing back the humiliation. Her heart pounded, not just from pain, but from something deeper, something unfinished. She left the building without another word, hiding the hurt behind a tight smile as cameras clicked and reporters whispered. To the world, it was just another love story that didn't make it. To her, it was something far more complicated, because Li Ziyan didn't know everything. Not yet. Across the city, inside a cozy apartment filled with children's laughter, 3 little figures were busy scheming. A chubby boy with curly hair sat cross-legged on the floor, holding a walkie-talkie. "Operation Daddy is a go," he whispered. Beside him, a girl in pigtails nodded seriously. "We strike when he least expects it." The smallest of the trio, a shy but clever boy with big round glasses, looked up from a drawing. "Do you think he'll recognize us?" he asked. "He has to," the girl said. "We all have his nose." That evening, the children put their plan into motion. The 3 of them had waited years, watched from afar, heard stories whispered between adults. And now they were ready. Tonight, they'd finally meet the man their mother never talked about. At the luxury hotel downtown, Li Ziyan had checked in for a business event. The suite was massive, polished, and private, exactly how he liked it. He rarely let his guard down, even in his own space. But tonight, he allowed himself a rare moment of solitude. As the bathroom door clicked shut behind him, he loosened his tie and sighed, staring at his reflection. The silence lasted 2 seconds. Then, bang! The door flew open. "Gotcha, Daddy!" 3 kids stormed in like tiny tornadoes, their faces glowing with triumph. One was holding a tablet. Another had a toy gun. The smallest carried a juice box and looked a little unsure, but determined to keep up. Li Ziyan froze mid-motion, still buttoning his shirt. He blinked at the sight before him. "What the hell?" The girl stepped forward, hands on hips. "Don't! Pretend you don't know. We found your face in Mom's photo album. We matched it with your company ID using image search. We used facial recognition software." The curly-haired boy added proudly, "Your kids," he said, baffled. "In my hotel room. We're your kids," the smallest one said, shyly. There was a moment of stunned silence. Li Ziyan's brain tried to reboot. These children. They had familiar eyes. That nose. The same mole near the chin as his own. It couldn't be. "Where's your mother?" he asked. his voice suddenly lower, unsure. She's the one you just told I don't do marriage, the girl said with a smirk. Bet you regret that now, huh? Li Xian stared at them, everything around him spinning. Marriage, he had refused her. And now 3 kids were calling him Daddy. He stepped back, almost tripping over the bath mat. I need to talk to your mother, now. Too late, said the curly-haired boy. She thinks you're heartless. So we came here to fix it. Yeah, the girl chimed in. Because you don't just dump our mom and walk away. Not after everything she did to raise us. She even skipped breakfast for 10 months straight so we could go to a better school. She loves you, you know, the smallest one whispered. Xian felt like the floor had been pulled out from under him. His entire world, carefully built on logic and control, suddenly didn't make sense. And somewhere in the middle of it, Chen Yue was holding a secret bigger than he could ever imagine. The kids stared at him expectantly. Outside, the rain had started to fall, soft at first, then heavier, like the sky itself was trying to say something. He took a deep breath, suddenly aware that his next decision could change everything, and just then, his phone buzzed. It was her, Chen Yue. The screen lit up with her name and a message. Don't come looking for us. We'll be fine. Li Xian looked from the phone to the children and then to the door, because suddenly, everything he thought he knew was no longer enough. Li Xian stared at the message from Chen Yue, his fingers trembling slightly as he held the phone. Don't come looking for us. We'll be fine. The words burned in his mind. How could she say that? After everything. After the silence and the distance. She was telling him to stay away. And yet, in his heart, he felt a pull he couldn't ignore. He looked down at the 3 kids again, their eyes, so full of hope and fear, all at once, mirrored something deep inside him. A longing he had buried beneath years of work and control. For years, he had built walls around himself, convinced that emotions were weaknesses he couldn't afford. But these kids, these little versions of himself and Yue, were proof that life had moved on without him. And maybe he'd missed the most important moments. Chen Yue was no ordinary woman. She came from a simple background, raised with values that Li Xian had long forgotten in his corporate battles. She was kind, stubborn, and fiercely protective of her children. When he first met her, it was by chance. A chance that changed everything. She wasn't dazzled by his wealth or power. Instead, she saw the man behind the CEO mask, and he couldn't help but be drawn to her. But success and love don't always mix well. The demands of his job, the expectations of his family, and the unspoken rules of their social circles had driven a wedge between them. And when rumors spread about him refusing to marry her, rumors he didn't bother to deny, it broke something fragile inside Yue. The kids had grown up without him, raised by Yue alone. She had protected them from the harsh realities of their father's world, sheltering them with love and stories about hope and family. Yet, the children carried a spark of curiosity, a desire to know the man who had walked away. Tonight, that curiosity exploded into action, forcing Li Xian to face the consequences of choices he had tried to avoid. As he sat there, questions flooded his mind. Why had Yue sent that message? Was she trying to protect them all from pain? Or was she punishing him for his cold refusal? And the kids? What did they really want from him? Forgiveness? Love? Or simply the truth? The moment stretched on, thick with tension. Li Xian's phone buzzed again, this time with a call. He stared at the screen. The name was blocked. He hesitated, then answered. Li Xian. A familiar voice whispered, shaky but determined. It's Yue. Please, don't come after us tonight. It's not safe. His heart clenched. Why? What's going on? There was a pause. Then a breath. There are people watching. People who want to keep us apart. I can't explain now. Just trust me. The line went dead. Li Xian's mind raced. Who could want to keep them apart? He had, made powerful enemies. But did Yue? Were his business battles spilling into her life? And what about the children? Were they in danger because of him? He glanced back at the three little faces waiting for answers. They didn't know the full story, but they felt the weight of it. The innocence in their eyes was mixed with a surprising maturity, as if they understood more than they should. Outside the hotel window, the rain fell harder now, drumming a relentless beat against the glass. It was as if the storm outside was echoing the chaos inside his mind. He thought about the nights he had spent alone, the decisions he had made to protect his company, and the cold distance he had maintained from Yue. What if all of that had been a mistake? What if the family he thought he could live without was exactly what he needed? Li Xian's phone vibrated again. This time, it was a text from an unknown number. Stop looking, or you'll lose everything. Fear prickled down his spine. This wasn't just a family drama anymore. It was something bigger, more dangerous. The children huddled closer, sensing the change in the room. The girl's voice broke the silence. Daddy, are we going to be okay? Li Xian forced a smile, but inside the storm was raging. We're going to be more than okay, he promised. I swear. But even as he said it, he knew this promise would be tested. Between the shadowy threats, the secrets Yue was hiding, and the unexpected reunion with his children, nothing was simple anymore. Tonight was the beginning of a battle, not for money or power, but for family, trust, and a chance to make things right. And somewhere deep inside, Li Xian realized that winning this fight would mean changing everything he thought he knew about himself. The rain outside had finally slowed to a gentle drizzle, but inside Li Xian's heart, the storm was far from over. He stood by the window, the message still burning on his phone. Stop looking, or you'll lose everything. The threat wasn't vague anymore. It was real, and it was close. He turned to the kids, their little faces full of hope, but also fear. He realized then that protecting them wasn't just about shielding them from strangers or danger outside. It meant facing the shadows he'd tried to avoid. The mistakes, the lies, and the people he'd underestimated. He swallowed hard and made a decision. He wouldn't run away from his family again. Li Xian called Yue, his voice steady, despite the whirlwind inside him. I'm coming to you. We face this together. Her sigh was tired, but filled with relief. Wait for me. I'll explain everything when you get here. The kids and we're ready. When he arrived, the tension was thick, but the sight of Yue and the three children waiting made something inside him soften. She looked stronger than he remembered, but her eyes showed the weight of everything she'd carried alone. Yue took a deep breath. There's someone from your company who wants to break us apart. Someone who's been watching us, trying to use your family against you. Li Xian's jaw tightened. Betrayal from within wasn't something he'd expected, but it made sense. We'll stop them, together. In that moment, the kids, so brave despite everything, reached out and held their parents' hands. The room filled with a mix of fear and hope, as if the future depended on this fragile unity. Suddenly, the door burst open. A man stepped in, eyes cold and calculating. The very enemy Li Xian hadn't seen coming. But instead of anger or threat, Li Xian felt clarity. This was the final test. The moment he had to prove he could protect what mattered most. What do you want? Li Xian demanded. The man smiled, but it was hollow. To remind you that family can be your weakest link. But as the tension peaked, Li Zian took a step forward, shielding Yue and the kids. No, family is my strength. You underestimate what love can do. In that instant, the kids, who had been silent witnesses, burst into laughter, breaking the heavy air. The man faltered, realizing that no threat could break a family united by trust and love. The climax wasn't a dramatic fight or escape. It was the quiet strength of forgiveness and commitment. Li Zian and Yue exchanged a glance, full of unspoken promises to heal the past and build a future together. As the danger passed, the family sat down together. Li Zian took Yue's hand and looked into her eyes. I was wrong to walk away, but I'm here now, for you and the kids, always. Yue smiled, tears shining. We've been waiting for you. Let's not waste any more time. The children cheered, their voices filling the room with joy and hope. In the end, the story wasn't about a CEO's cold rejection or a sudden dramatic rescue. It was about human hearts, broken but brave, afraid but hopeful, ready to fight, for love no matter the odds. And for Li Zian, the greatest success wasn't in his business deals or power moves. It was in the small moments, holding his children, making amends, and choosing family over fear. This was just the beginning of their new life. Together, stronger and unbreakable. If there's one thing this story teaches us, it's that no matter how far someone walks away, love has a way of finding its way back home. So, what would you do if faced with a choice between your past mistakes and the family waiting for you? Sometimes, the hardest battles bring the greatest rewards. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories that touch the heart and inspire the soul.